Good morning. I know I'm recording this at night, but I'm going to release it in the morning, so I figured I'd say good morning. Someone asked me to do a video on James Freeman. I don't do them very often because they're all basically the same. They're not very law intensive, they're more fact intensive. And, well, facts are up to juries, they're not up to me. But to show you the way I approach it, here we have some standard James Freeman fare. He has resorted to using clickbaity girls in the videos. He normally has clickbaity topics, clickbaity titles. Today we're going to be looking at this one. It's called Woman Tased and Arrested for Fleeing and Eluding for Proceeding to Safe, Well-Lit Area. There's a pint-sized cop with damaged ego in the thumbnail. I don't know. Here's eluding. It's a misdemeanor. Person commits an offense if the person operates a motor vehicle and willfully fails or refuses to bring the vehicle to a stop, or flees or attempts to elude a pursuing police vehicle when given a visual or audible signal to bring the vehicle to a stop. So if they turn on their lights or sirens and you don't stop, that is eluding in a nutshell. Farrakhan versus State did as a nice little breakdown. It's this one, the alleged lesser offense. And these are the basic elements. So one has to be operating a motor vehicle. Has to have a willful state of mind. Willful kind of threw me because Texas is a model penal code state. But Horn versus State says that there is basically no difference between willful and intentional. So the defendant has to intend to not stop the motor vehicle. The defendant has to fail or refuse to stop the motor vehicle, or has to flee or attempt to elude. The defendant has to do number 3, which is the fail or refuse to stop the vehicle while a police vehicle is pursuing him. The defendant does number 3 after having been given a visual or audible signal to stop the vehicle. The officer must be uniformed and prominently displaying badge, and the officer's vehicle must be appropriately marked as an official police vehicle. So we're going to see, you're going to get your opportunity to see if number 1, his title is correct, and number 2, if you believe, because you're the jury, that she is eluding. So here we go.
This may seem like deja vu because I just shared an incident almost identical to this that happened in Florida about a week ago, but I assure you this is a different incident in Austin, Texas with the same exact bad cop behavior. August 28th.
All right, so that little video he played there at the beginning, he's rewound it back. So the first thing that you should be aware of is that this is starting off in media res. We don't know what happened before she started recording. Another thing that you should be aware of is that he says that her YouTube channel with the uncut video is here. This is her channel. This is the only video she has on it. This is the video, and none of that initial chase footage is contained in here. It starts off right here where she's already been pulled over. So we don't know really anything about this, and until we get the police video and hopefully a police report, we're really relying on James Freeman not lying to us, and I don't know if I would be willing to do that.
8th, 2022, about 10:45 p.m., Austin, Texas. Tisha is traveling alone at night on Highway 183 when a Texas DPS officer gets behind her and engages his emergency lights. She immediately turns her phone on to start recording while looking for an exit to get off of the freeway and stops safely. You'll see that she does pass one exit, but that's just an interchange to Highway 290, not an exit off of the freeway. She proceeded to the next exit off of the actual freeway, which was Manor Road, and then stopped in the...
So, well, okay, so let's just assume that what James is saying is correct, and that the police officer turned on his lights right when she was about here. I think the video starts when she is right, she's coming down this off ramp right when it turns from yellow to white. I think right about here is where she starts recording, because you'd see the yellow turn to white. You see the little construction sign and the merging sign. She drives this way. You see the sign for 290. She passes that. We don't really get to see any of this because he cuts it all out. I wonder why he does. But she exits right here onto Ed Bluestein Road. There is no direct exit from US 183 to Manor Road, so she had to exit here on Ed Bluestein Road. Now, when she exits here, she passes up this Langston Drive, and you can see there's a light right here. So she did not stop here. She passes up this, which is Vintage Hills Cove, and you can see there's a little parking lot here. There's a little frontage thing. There's little parking areas. Those might be houses or something. I'm not entirely sure. Don't really care. She passes up this church and this parking lot, which she would have to make a flip around to get into, but she passes it up. So there's 3 turnoffs that she passes up before she gets onto Manor Road and turns into here. So is James telling the truth when he says that Manor Road was the first place she could have pulled over in a well-lit
First
area?
well-lit business parking lot. The total distance
It's a well-lit business parking lot. See, it's got to be the business parking lot, right? Because the statute requires that she pull over in the first well-lit business parking lot. Okay.
the location where the officer turned on his lights to the location that the victim pulled into for her safety and the officers was about 1.3 miles.
Well, so is 1.83 miles, that's about 2 minutes of driving, right? So she had an officer behind her for 2 minutes before she pulled over. Is that... Think about the statute. Think about if you were the cop. Would you want to charge her with that if she pulled over, let's say, within 200 feet of you turning on your lights? Would you want to charge her with that if she pulled over within 2 miles of you turning on your lights? Would you want to charge her with that if she actually stopped within 200 miles of you turning on your lights? Do you think a jury is more likely to convict off of 200 feet or 200 yards or 2 miles or 200 miles? Because, they always stop, right? The chase always stops. If they catch you, that means that they've stopped you. So you've always stopped somewhere, right? But the question is, how far have you gone? Have you attempted to elude, right? So again, we don't have any of this footage, and you notice how he goes on saying it's uncut, but he cut out everything from, he cut out all of the driving from here, where she's passing 290, to, whoop, I didn't mean to do that, to Manor Road. So he cut out from there to there when she turns in. He cut out about a mile of it. I wonder why.
The officer approached her with his gun drawn, demanded that she get out of the vehicle, and accused her of fleeing and evading. I'll leave a link to her uncut video in case anybody thinks that I cut out a part where she ducks into a neighborhood or weaves in and out of traffic to get away. She takes...
And again, the uncut video has nothing of the driving, so...
It's a direct route to the closest well-lit area off of the freeway.
Now it went from the closest business well-lit area to just the closest well-lit area. Again, not in the statute. So... it starts off rough. So we're at 6 minutes and 9 seconds. Somewhere right about here or so, I think he tases her. And right about at 15 minutes and a little like 10 or so seconds is when he actually gets the cuffs on her. Right there, he's got the cuffs on her. So, I mean, just so you could, I'll play a little bit of it for you.
He's not going to jail. Stop. I don't want to jail. I don't want to be your hand. No, because you are being so custody of me. No, please stop. Please stop. No, you are being extra for no reason. You are being extra for no reason. You are hurting me. You are hurting me. Sorry, please don't be aggressive with me. Sorry, you don't listen. Sorry, if you take me away, I'm not wasn't aggressive. You are being so aggressive. Y'all are what? What did you say? Stop. Y'all are being so aggressive.
And right about there, he has the cuffs on her. So there's 9 minutes of her not being cuffed, resisting. And she says she was tased for no reason. He says that she was tased for fleeing and eluding, just for proceeding to a safe, well-lit area. I mean, you get to decide for yourself. I don't particularly think that's necessarily what a jury would find, but I'm not a jury and I'm not in Texas, so, you know. I just want to point out that he left out a lot of things. Again, we start off in media res. What happened before? He says that as soon as the cop turned the lights on that she started recording. We have no way of confirming that. He says that he didn't cut it out and that the first place for her to stop was that HEB parking lot. But again, as we saw on the maps, she passed up 3 exits that she would have been able to take. Langston Drive, this Vintage Hills Cove, and Dubuque Lane before she actually got to Manor Road. So just take it for what you will. Decide for yourself whether or not you believe him, whether you believe her. And I did check to see if I could find where she'd been charged with anything. I couldn't. That doesn't mean she wasn't. But, you know, if she gets charged with something, and if it goes to trial, then the state will be able to put on the state's evidence. And that'll include the police cameras. And that'll include the police testimony. You know, everything that James gets all, you know, oh my God, he approached the car with the gun out. What if her vehicle matched the description for a car that had been involved in a drive-by shooting? And what if the cop had been following her for the past 10 miles or 20 miles? You know, so without the entire story, we can't really say whether the cop was being reasonable or unreasonable. Obviously, Freeman's going to paint the cop in the worst possible light, and you know, Freeman might be right. Maybe the cop is a terrible person. I don't know. But we certainly don't have the entire story to judge. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.